Hi, I'm Michael Cerami, and I'm coming to you live from Digital CPA 21 here in Nashville, Tennessee. Thrilled to be with David Autor. David is an internationally recognized economist from MIT, and his focus is really on the future of work. We had a great keynote from David earlier today, and I'm excited to spend a few minutes with him. David, welcome.
Thank you, Michael.
David, we talked a lot. We've been talking a lot at Digital CPA through the years about technology and the impact technology really has on professional services. You really touched on that concept in a pretty in-depth way today. Maybe you can kind of comment on that.
Sure. So the focus of my discussion, or our discussion, because we had some time to talk afterwards as well, was about this sort of distinction between automation and augmentation. So automation is what most people think about when they think about how technology is changing work. The set of tasks that were formerly done by people and are now done by machines, whether that's calculation or organizing and sorting information, retrieving information, and that's definitely happening. And there's a lot of work that has been automated, a lot of office, clerical, administrative support, production work. Simultaneously, technology provides tools that augments the value of output, that allows you to do more in a given amount of time, or complement your expertise, your judgment, your creativity. So expertise is having a body of kind of facts for a domain, but then judgment is like how you apply those facts, right? So it's not enough to be able to look things up in a law book or online. You have to know what goes where, and then creativity is being able to extend that domain. And so in the case of accounting, right? Of course, there's a lot of formerly time-intensive tasks that are now being done by machinery, and that saves a lot of time. But then there's a lot of hard problems to solve around new rules and regulations, about remote work, about security, and those require those expert skills that we're talking about, and those are augmented by the kind of era that we're in. If you think about it, kind of the key input into accounting work is information and data processing. One of your key inputs has just gotten much cheaper and much better. And now that means that you can add more value because you know how to take data and turn it into useful information for your customers.
Yeah, it's a wonderful concept, and I think what's really important, it's a little less dire of maybe some of the messaging that firms have heard in the past, where you've got this really big shift in the market, this transition to more advisory services work, which to your point is really about business insight, guidance, really directing small businesses on kind of meaningful business decisions. It sounds like this bodes well for that shift, and it really is almost going to create this specialization, if you will, for firms.
Specialization is really key. A lot of the work that we do now didn't really exist in its current form, decades ago. In the talk I gave and the work I've done with my co-authors, we actually catalog the emergence of new titles, new tasks that people didn't previously perform. Some of them might be, forensic accounting. Some of them might be, being a sommelier at a restaurant.
Yeah.
But they're all things that require specific knowledge and expertise, right? You have some domain expertise, and as the set of technologies improves and the problems change, that creates new need for specialization, right? So, there are 100 times as many types of doctors now as there were 100 years ago. Now, it's not because those doctors know less, it's because the breadth of information they need to master has expanded, and so they have to specialize. And so you can see this occurring in accounting, but also among actuaries, statisticians, mathematicians, that they are working with more data, and that increases their ability to do useful things, right? You now have an ocean of information, but information is not useful to people in its raw form. That's where expertise comes in.
That's a great point. You've talked about this concept of augmentation versus automation. What specifically, do you have maybe some examples even of augmentation types of technology versus maybe an automation type of technology?
Sure. I mean, let me start with like a very concrete example, right? If you're, let's say you work in construction, let's say you're a roofer, right? Well, you used to pound nails in with a hammer, you now have a pneumatic nail gun, right? I don't think roofers are saying, oh no, pneumatic nail guns, we're out of work, right? It means that they can do more in the course of a day.
Yeah.
And moreover, they can probably take on harder jobs where you actually can you don't have to use your balance to. But you don't have, take another example from medicine, right? There are dozens and dozens of, really hundreds of diagnostic tests that didn't used to exist. Now, on the one hand, that saves people time. They don't have to spend the lab now does, or the machine now does things that they would have spent time assaying and looking under a microscope. However, it also means that the set of ailments that they can accurately diagnose and expertly treat and precisely work on is expanded. So doctors don't feel like they're losing work because they have diagnostic tests. They feel like they're more effective and they're more in demand. So we see this in all domains. And in fact, where new titles are emerging, where new work, that's where employment is growing.
Yeah. Question, David, follow up on that. One of the, I think, most challenging issues before the accounting profession, and probably many professions, is just the kind of the war for talent. So either continuing to source or retain talent, finding good people, qualified people. How do you think that factors into all this? How does this impact that?
Well, there is real scarcity of people who basically can take data and analysis and turn it into useful decision making. And so that you are competing with a lot of other sectors. I mean, I think, how do you do that successfully? One way is to, help people understand what you do, right? So, economics, historically, which is the field I'm in, is like viewed as pretty dull, so, the book Freakonomics by the economist Steve Levitt, changed the public's perception of my profession, actually changed the people who go into it. So helping people to understand, that this is not just bookwork, but it's problem solving and it's strategic, I think will affect who wants to, do that type of work going forward, and that will affect ability to attract talent.
So David, maybe in closing, just your outlook for professional services. It seems like your message to the community is really kind of embrace change, but that it maybe bodes well for the future of professional services.
Yeah, so there's no question the work will change. And we're not running out of work to do, but the set of skills that are in demand is changing. And the kind of rote tasks that follow well understood rules and procedures and can be codified will be increasingly executed by machines if they aren't already. However, the ability to take those outputs and turn them into guidance, strategy, insight, and also compliance, or even finding fraud, and which is a growing line of work. Certainly in computer security. There's gonna be growing demand for that. There already is. So the challenge is to allocate your efforts towards the area where expertise is needed. And the set of problems is changing. It always will be, but you can see it's changing because of remote work. You can see it's changing because people are sourcing work in other countries, or taking their local workers and they're now all over the place. Adapting to that creates new need for expertise. So those are interesting problems, and those are where the opportunity will lie.
David, that's great. I mean, clearly, so it's a push to higher value services, and I know that the profession is moving pretty dramatically in that way already. So thank you for being here with us, and really appreciate today's message.
Thank you very much.